Ain't that that's Diddy hit?
That's literally what I just went through my head. I was like, that's the price of being regional teacher of the year. Shit. Oh, you regional teacher of the year? Okay, let me get this. Let me get that text.
This signature on this long run.
I thought it was sweet. I thought it was sweet, man. I thought life was gonna get easier.
Nah, man.
He said, "No, oh, you got that award now? Okay, let me get them taxes on you right now, Nello. Let me get that M off your last name." Jesus Christ! Could have waited.
And void well, all your checks are gonna say from here on out.
Tell me, how did my face look, man? He was like, "You sure you want to do this podcast?"
I said, "No, you a little solemn."
Yo, how good is my poker face? I was trying to like.
No, it was a somber mood.
Was it? Yeah. Tell me more, man. Because I sometimes like I need a bird's eye view. Because I be thinking I'd be too cool, but sometimes like, in my head I just be like, dog, like.
Nah, look, you got a cool radar, and then you got a. Nah, I'm not feeling it today. So I pick up on that stuff. I'm empathetic. I'm pathetic and I'm empathetic. Let's put it that way. Let's keep it 100.
Yeah, we pathetic and empathetic today. Welcome to Come the Podcast. And my brother Dr. D with me today. Dr. Donovan, man. Dr. Donovan is definitely a brother from another mother. This dude is literally nothing. We're gonna nerd out today, man. We're gonna talk about Naruto University and Dragon Ball Z City. You know what I'm saying? And I just found out you was in Pro Tools and shit like that. Like, what is like the Jay Dilla like type people, like the people that could take apart something and just like be lost in it 5 hours and then be called a weirdo and be like, so.
Hey, there's a word for that. It's not multi-hyphenate, but I have to look it up. But man, I will say this. It is one of those things where, for me, being able to explore, figure out things, and just having the time to myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get lonely. I like solitude. I'm an introvert, even though people think I'm super happy and always smiling. It's a show. It is a show. But I don't like the power dynamic of using doctor. I don't really care about the PhD. People like to do that.
The dialectic of society, or just like the polarization or like duality of like life, right? I remember when I was getting my master's degree at Wayne State, right? It's really not dwelling on the 3-year master program, not dwelling on the student teaching job and going to school, not dwelling on, learning how to write every single day, because that's the master's program, right? You just learn how to write. I was more dwelling on, am I going to graduate with my locks? I want to show my professors I am better than, you know what I'm saying? Like I was so caught up in like trying to prove myself more. When I was to historically black college, like it was just me trying to be that. And then I had to prove that like I could get a master's degree with locks, right? Mm-hmm. But then after I got it, I'm just like, okay, I don't even have my plaque for a master's degree.
No, that's for real. Like my stuff is still not framed. It's in the little plastic packaging. But it's funny that you mentioned Dilla. Mm-hmm. My birthday is the same.
No way.
Yeah, February 7th. My favorite producer in Japan. His birthday is also the same. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, man, I grew up the locks during grad school. It was like, man, forget it. My degree is black.
Yes.
And my locks is my crown. I ain't trying to hold nothing back. I'm not, nappy. Nappy, I love it, man. It's all the glory.
Yeah,
all the glory come from is beautiful.
Because it's our fight. It's kind of like our way of saying no to the bully of society, where in life we were saying no to the bully that was beating us up. Like, when we was in like middle school or like elementary school.
I had that problem.
And we had to figure out, how to navigate certain things, right? Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, though, there's still levels, right? There's still levels of toughness. There's levels of people who are serious, or there are people that get perceived as being more cutthroat or more tough than not. Or they get labeled as the right? Who's more masculine? You know, there is a concept where the tall man concept where people kind of like fall victim to the tallest guy who's the most loudest, right? But the insight or the substance is very hollow, right?
Right.
Where people like you and I, we're not as loud, very soft spoken.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get that same intimidation factor, right? We don't get that same, like, you know, oh, that's just Donovan, you know, so, oh, that's just Mr. Neville, right? But deep down, like in our minds, like, you know, we want respect and like we want to be treated seriously. Why do we always get put in that category? Why do you think so?
You know, people talk about the friend zone, people talk about all these different ideas about who we're supposed to be. And, you know, socialization will say, oh, you're supposed to be the hunter, you're supposed to be chucking the spear, getting food and whatnot. And I mean, the, you know, quote unquote, nice guy and being accommodating for other people, I think that puts a lot more power in your hands than people may, you know, presume, because they say often the loudest person in the room is not really doing anything.
Right.
About that level of depth that we don't have, people like me and you do not have to show, because it's within us. We don't have to try to please everyone in the vain sense, in the appearance of by, you know, meeting some type of standard. What we do is find our power from within. With that, we don't necessarily have to try to get all the attention from everybody we want to serve, and we don't need the attention to do it.
And our presence is sometimes enough. I did a presentation, you know, literally on the importance of Black male teachers, and I said, if you're our presence is enough.
Right.
Can you add to that? And like, what's the teacher tip would you give to teachers right now?
Yeah, having presence, showing up is definitely a thing. Excuse me. But the teacher tip is show up as you are, be authentic, because, you know, I got the doctor in front of my name, that, you know, that's the title, but I don't like to use that. Showing up as like, I'm Donovan. I don't need this power differential. I don't like being called Mr. Coldquit, Dr. Coldquit, just call me Donovan. And so, you know, leveraging the high horse power dynamic that a lot of schools kind of institute. I mean, it's in the culture, it's ingrained in school culture, period, right?
Yeah.
When I think of it, I think of community, right? I think of being in a circle, being in a hierarchy or a pyramid, a triangle, whatever you want to call it. We are all really, each one teach one, reach one.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all kind of serving one another. And in that, I mean, I've menteed, or I have several mentees, or plenty of people older and younger than me. And so with that, you know, there's this level of humility that I have to come with. There's a level of humanity and dignity that I have to offer to everybody. I mean, they deserve it. Respect, people say, is earned, but honestly, yeah. We gotta show up. We gotta show up and make sure that there is this level of being and not just doing. You know, we have to be the observer. We have to fill in the gaps. But the person who has the most power in the room is the observer, because power to the students. There's a difference between compliance, which is schools. You gotta learn this. And then engagement, we gotta get you to learn this stuff. But empowerment is saying, let's help you learn, but we want you to learn on your own or figure out things because it's what you want to do. I mean, I like the Montessori aspect.
Where do we go wrong with that mindset though, right? Because currently right now, right, we have this attack on, I call it realness. So, you know, they call it DEI, right? You know, attack on telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
We did this PDM, restorative justice, and we talked about how in order to be a truly restorative figure, you have to have empathy and to have critical thinking. You know what I'm saying? And when we talk about, you know, trying to lead society, we talk about trying to heal society, we talk about trying because Detroit's a very special place because, you know, there are a lot of issues, a lot of disparities, a lot of jewels, a lot of values, but there are also people with a lot of good intention, right? And then you get a lot of people, well, other people, and all in the same room with a lot of good intention. And then now you have, okay, now I have this kids, I have this school, let's go ahead and solve the problem, right? Without all the red tape, where if you were to live in, say, like, maybe Florida, you can't even think about equity without even, you know what I'm saying, going through all the red tape to get to equity. But still, it's still hard. The job is still, like, you still have to deal with, like, power dynamics. You still have to deal with jealousy. You have to deal with being misunderstood. You have to deal with not upholding to the standard that people set for you, that they versus accepting who you are and what you're giving.
Right.
And so, like, I guess, like, you know, growing up as a kid, did you struggle with that a lot?
Yeah, like
being misunderstood.
Oh man, like one of the things that I had to learn in grad school was there's a difference, like having good intentions, and then the resulting impact could be completely different. Like I've had instances, even in the past year, where I'm like, man, I thought I was doing the right thing, and then it was just received differently. I can't control someone's reaction to
like what?
With good intentions, like building a website for someone as a gift, right, for their business, and then they're like, oh, you know, that's copyright infringement, and I'm like, but I built it for you. It would be yours if you received it. Right? And you know, that's a sever right there, not on my end, but that unfortunately that person chose to do that, and this is someone we, you know, healing justice, we were on the same page until that one point. So as a kid, you know, the politics of life in general, I think I wasn't out that humanity and dignity as a kid, even to this day. You know, people assume that I got it all together, that I'm Mr. Perfect, that you know, there's no cracks in my armor. And as a kid, you know, you get affected. You are affected by your parents, you're affected by the school system, your grandparents, your friends. There's all these complex and nuanced dynamics which influence who you are and how you respond to certain situations. So we have kids who are acting, we have parents and teachers, principals, administrators. Everybody's kind of in this reactive mode of flight or fight responses. And when we become more intentional and proactive, then it becomes a good thing. But as a kid, man, people, you know, kids cussing all the time. I'm walking with my brothers or my friends. If I say a bad word, you know, we in middle school, they're like, that's not Donovan. What's going on?
Right.
And you know, people, I think the intention is to kind of in a sense, but at the end of the day, it's like, I can't be human because y'all want more than I can offer, and I portrayed a certain image to now have to use a smile to shield the imperfections. Like I just gotta perform and not be who I really am.
And that's tiring. And so, what were some of the imperfections?
Man, I mean, this is what I would say: the anxiety. I haven't any time in my life, but the anxiety of, I mean, there's like points in times where I'm like, I wrote the email out, I'll see the response, and I'm just like, did I write it the right way?
Yeah.
And I'm terrified by the response on the email just by signature line.
Let me cut you off real quick. So Donovan is a genius. So this dude can do anything. He can code, he can make music, he can write, he has a PhD. And what's your PhD in again?
Engineering education.
Right. So he's a math, science, engineer, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude is like a genius. Like, so he has a lot of in his interview, just like, kind of like Jay Dilla, right? Kind of like MF Doom, like people who can be themselves and still be like confident in themselves and have all the talent, but never get the true appreciation that they deserve, because they're not the loudest, or they're not the tallest, or they're not the most, outspoken. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
The imperfectionist.
Yeah, being an imperfectionist, being like a sheer idealistic. Even on my LinkedIn, people really tune in to like I was in this online Stanford course this past fall with people like ex-Googlers, Microsoft, Meta, whatever. And when they saw my LinkedIn profile, and they saw in the description, I said I'm a recovering high performer. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Like,
no, like not taking yourself too serious. Because whenever you introduce yourself, my name is Dr. Master Bachelor Citizen Nella. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta tell you everything I've done before I tell you about my last name.
Right.
And it's just like what I was talking about, like with my dreads. Like I literally took that picture and I had like my master's degree in my hand as ratchet as possible. You know what I'm saying? Because like when I go to U of M, right? I go to Michigan Tech, right? These very, very predominant white spaces. These spaces where Black culture is hard to find. I'm finding solace in my damn iPod Nano. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm bumping like the Carter, the drop low. I'm saying at the soup kitchen while I'm going down Main Street, not because I'm trying to get attention, because I'm trying to like
reinvigorate.
I'm trying to reinvigorate, right? Because you were talking about even as a kid, right? As a Black man, being the smarty one, right? Or the one who has all the knowledge, or the one that's going to do everybody's homework, and you know what I'm saying? Because
who stole my homework,
right? Or still in homework. You want to let people know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you said, like you're human too, right? And that pedestal that you're putting me on, like, that builds. So what? So I guess like from like your parents, right? And then achieving a lot, because you achieved a lot as a kid too.
Yeah, I was.
Talk about that.
Always.
Like you would get an award and like just throw it away, like you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't get a lot of awards. See, like I wanted to be nominated. I wanted to get an award. I was always like this. You know what I'm saying? I just started went into like college. You know what I'm saying?
No, man. I
started went into teaching for real. Sorry, go ahead.
I remember that text I was like, "Hey man, congratulations on Teacher of the Year."
What I say?
He was like, "Yeah, I got to fill out all this paperwork, man." Paperwork. What, bro? Oh man, I forgot the question.
See, that's what I'm saying. You used to winning. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not winning. I think.
No. So this is, you grow up, you get the A's and the B's you're supposed to do, and then you start looking at just over past few years how GPAs, ACTs, AP, SATs all birthed out of eugenics. And so it became a lot less weighty in a lot of different ways. But growing up, that's what you're supposed to do, despite the fact that it doesn't really truly assess. Yeah, it doesn't assess who you are, what you can do. You'd be surprised. I can rote memorization, all these different facts and whatnot, and get a 5 on the AP score. It didn't mean anything. And contextualization, is this the truth? Right? Are these facts? And that's kind of what I want to go through with the students I'll be teaching is math the truth? Because I'm a big time philosophy geek. And in the 8th grade, I got some awards. And I didn't really get much until the very end, which was a matter of, hey, I'm doing all this work. I'm working 3 jobs at once. I'm in 2 minutes to count. And Senior year, $1.25 million in scholarships. Did not have a clue. I was just, the Great Recession hit right before I got into high school, and we lost our home. Moved into a townhouse with, I won't describe the conditions, but they weren't great.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the impetus. That was the catalyst for me to just say, I'm going full hog. I'm trying to make sure that my parents don't have to pay for my education. I'm going to take ownership of this because there's pressure on them. And let's keep it a buck. Everybody who wants to go to college is ridiculous. They have to $100,000. $10, man. If I had to spend $10 in college, man, I'd be pissed because it should be free, honestly.
No, real talk. But I really talking about, because you're talking about, again, and you hear a lot on TikTok, you see a lot of upset millennials, right? Yeah. Because they feel like they've been scammed, right? Because I remember I went to IB school, and a lot of, my kids, friends, mm-hmm. all IB, right? And George Mason with freshman year, no credits, right? And then they graduate, and it's just like they go on Facebook, just like, why did I do all that? Right. You know what I'm saying? But not to take for credit people that got that and benefited from it, but at the same time, though, we all know that a lot of the college scandal, right? We know what the college scandal was like. That was like literally like the rich people like paying to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But they also like did what to the system? They recognized that the system is what? Broken. You know what I'm saying? Biased. And they've always been cheating, right? And what I brought up the concept of like the dreads, like with the master's degree, because like I was so caught up in, again, trying to have peace within myself and not to lose myself. And there's so many, I feel like, Black men, right, who don't get in certain positions in society because they don't want to lose themselves because they know in it, right? You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be like the GM, one of the GM for the Falcons who drafted that quarterback yesterday when he already signed Kirk Cousins, you know what I'm saying? Be like trying to explain, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not, it won't make sense, And so I guess like trying to take care of your parents, you're still not being yourself because you don't want to do that, because you shouldn't have to do that. But that's the reality. And so you still have to put on that facade. So talk about that more.
The cowl, like being Batman and being
at an early age,
I spent my childhood being kind of the single child with a single mom. Because of, growing up, parents separated when I was 2 years old for, I don't have to say the reasons, but just the reasons why I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And so having that type of pressure to please my mom and make sure I was out of the way, make sure she was happy, because I was a good kid, that affects you, right? Just no room for error. Even though she was, it did. If I failed, I felt like I failed. It's still ingrained in me. If I fail people, it affects me. It is like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get good rest tonight. I got friendships from middle school, elementary school. We could very well be in touch today, and we might have lost touch in college, and now they're about to move on to some bigger and better thing. Yeah. And I just want to celebrate them. But it's that level of like, dang, I done felt them because we haven't been in touch. That's the weird thing about that is like, why do I have to feel the need to be understood in a way that I love y'all without it coming off as like, hey, I'm intrusive.
It's like you want to be appreciated for the effortless work that you're giving, but really you just kind of like just want to just be appreciated. Like you just want to be naturally appreciated, like people who don't give as much effort do.
I wouldn't even say that. I just want, I'm the hope, like we were talking about intentions and impact. The hope would be that people receive love despite the fact that, the gaps that I may not have been able to fill for them. At the end of the day, like, we're a community.
Yeah.
We should be working together. And for me to kind of break that circle that we could have rotating around as friends or community members or whatever, it becomes, it's a fracture. I'll put it that way. And for that fracture to be propagated, this is a physics issue. It can lead to worse things, and it could some adhesive to bring us together still. And I would hope that would be love, but reaching out to people and saying, hey, I celebrate you, and then you you don't get to tap it back or whatever. It's like, dang, how did I fail them in the past? And I feel like, why do I feel the need to please people in that way? And I think that's rooted in the childhood of, I need to make sure everybody's all right. So I took on the whole, I'm the big brother. I'm a mentor to all the people.
Yeah.
And, I wrote the book after I won all those scholarships because I wanted to motivate more students. But the putting on the armor and having the cowl, the cape, whatever you call it, I was performatively saying, go to college, get all the scholarships.
Yeah. Right.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I don't even believe in this stuff. I need to shut down this business because this isn't it. This is kind of countercultural to how I feel. And coming up genuinely, just being authentic with people about those types of things, I think it takes the pressure off, especially the students. It's like, hey, it's okay to be human. Stuff going on in your life.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that as an undergraduate student. The game completely changed when I was in grad school for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we understand, life happens. But in undergrad, I had no idea whether or not the professors cared about me or not. I was just another number for which they had, give me grades.
It's tricky, man, because society would say, like, if you don't work hard, you're a bum. If you work too hard, then you're amazing. But if you work really hard, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yep. And that's...
and they never glorify the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Or even acknowledge that there is a middle.
That's the issue is we get so ingrained in capitalism that the society is broken in general, and capitalism only perpetuates the cycle of oppression. But what I would say is the fact that we are by capital, financial capital, anything of that means having resources that we feel the need to stock up instead of spread out. We become auto exploitators. Like we exploit ourselves.
And reactive, auto-reactive too.
Yeah.
Some are being reactive.
Yeah, we are ourselves out of just habit, right? I have to be working.
And scalability, trying to scale things.
Yeah, and scaling is you have to have a foundation to build on top of it. If you don't have a foundation, you can't scale. So people trying to scale
with no foundation.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, being in computer science just kind of was bubbling up in that space, and all of a sudden people always want
let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Oh yeah, people want to make an app, but they don't really know the fact that you got to keep updating it. You have a full range of different devices that you have to accommodate for. And they're like, oh, but we can make so much money. I mean, these are high schoolers. This is up. My parents are still like, oh, this is a great idea. You should do this. I'm like, yo, you know how much work goes into that? So
let's talk about it. So was the pursuit to getting like STEM degrees, was that a scam? It's like because now you have like Silicon Valley really going through like a bankruptcy bubble now, right? Yeah. And they were the ones that literally kind of pushed Congress to fund all this money into coding, get everybody into coding, right? And I watched this really interesting TikTok, and he was a guy of Asian descent. He was pretty much kind of talking about how like it's a scam because in the end of the day, if you have a college, the people with the smallest percentage of degrees of people are probably going to be science degrees.
Yep, especially with Black, brown, and indigenous folk.
Because it's highly competitive.
Yep.
Because
And it's born out of eugenics.
And it's born out of eugenics, and you have to, and you have to have a certain mindset, because I don't want to come off like that type of person, but like, either you know it or you don't.
I mean, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. We talking about the scandals.
You know it? Okay.
Academic funding. Yo, if my parents had $1 million and put me through private school all my life, and I had all the keys to the game of how to play the AP exam,
Let's talk about it,
everything, man, I would be like the kids who were sitting next to me when I got that scholarship through the General Motors Foundation. I was one of the first 5 to get the scholarship, $100,000 for college. And the kids next to me, wealthy parents, perfect scores on the SAT, ACT, and here am I. I am with my 29 on the ACT.
Yeah.
Of the GPA, but they got the 4.5s, and I'm the only black.
Right,
the only
right.
black
It's intimidating a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, well, why y'all pick me? Because these people, I'm sure there's more of them, and you feel like the diversity, the token, right?
Right.
The tokenized individual, these resources to then access the Silicon Valley, Stanford's, UC Berkeley's, Princeton. You and I, if we were to go there, and given the history of the news cycle that we've seen,
our dreads would be our superpower.
They would be our superpower, our weakness.
Correct.
Because we can have, just like one of the ladies, there's several cases. I forget.
Our box would be our superpower.
Yeah, there's a woman got the police called on her, or campus security called on her because they thought she didn't belong on campus, right?
Yeah. That they're not as progressive as the liberals, of the Silicon Valley pretend to be. But I think it's also like, right? Because science is made for what?
Better.
Yeah. But in order to make our lives better, we got to make the world better.
Right.
But science is not doing that.
And that's the issue. Let me say that's not.
Technology is not doing it.
Yeah. So technology, there's this thing called techno-solutionism. Solutionism, there's techno-pessimism and whatnot. Technology isn't going to solve all of our problems. In fact, it can very much, you look at AI and AGI, all these other possibilities.
Yeah.
It can harm us significantly. And with that, technology, pencil. We have to stop looking at technology as all the gadgets and doodads that surround us, the advanced technology of being a computer or a CNC machine, like the cabin Nellum cast. We have to really realize that just the science.
It's not esoteric.
It's not the hard sciences, as people will say, like science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And that's why I got the PhD in engineering education, because that's a social science.
Right.
And it blends in with engineering to understand these systems of oppression, whether that be algorithmically or really socially, societal. There's a lot of different ways that we can empower one another.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of people doing that work at, say, Hispanic serving institutions, youth. Right. There are some pockets within, PWIs or HWIs. I'm sorry, historically white institutions, for those who do not know.
HWIs. Why are you giving them another name?
Predominantly white, Lord. Historically, it wasn't by accident.
Right.
So you see little pockets of, hey, there's some social justice, which is a whole nother word. DEI is a whole nother thing. At the end of the day, we need to stop. This is my thought that I had last week, was we need to stop doing academic assimilation. You have to meet these standards in order to be approved to come in here.
Yeah.
And it's this, my professor way back when, she said there was this one conversation at the University of Michigan where there was this term called academic socialization.
Yeah.
Very Orwellian. And it's like, well, you got to tell them that they don't need to go back home. They don't see their friends or family.
Yeah.
They just need to focus on their work.
And
it's okay. So where's the humanity and dignity in that type of thought process, that critical thinking?
Yeah.
Right? So with that thought, if we were to, beginning of our word, to treat everyone on a level surface as a circle, a community, where we are giving power to one another, not just having this hierarchy. We could go a lot farther. And I mean, peace and unity, I mean, that can be constant. But at the end of the day, we need to look at critical race theory. There's so many different theories, but we have to put them into practice.
Yeah, and stop complaining about doing them because we don't want to do the work. And so I guess if the United States is ranked 45th in the world in education, how many professors have you experienced that have PhDs, right?
You want me to count?
But just kind of talk about how does that exist? But you know what I'm saying? How does that exist? Just what I just said.
It's the culture. It's the academic culture. I have a PhD. When in academia or in grad school, I can now call people with PhDs and doctorates, by their first name, technically.
Okay.
Culturally, right?
Yeah.
There are still people who are call me after such and such. It's okay, I don't really care. But there's also movements where people are, using lowercase letters for their first and last name, right? De-emphasize the power. Y'all ain't bored. In fact, y'all are probably less human.
But they work so hard, man. They had to work to get that doctor for their name. Maybe put some respect on their name, big dog.
Hey, man, let's put it like this. I have one guy. He has his PhD. He has 2 master's degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Still wants that respect and acclaim. When in fact, I mean, what's the right? How has it contributed, and how critically have you thought about its impact on society? You might have great intentions with machine learning or artificial intelligence or
intentions.
There's so much good. Right? There's so much optimism, and that's what I got trapped in. Was I want engineering to change the world, and then I realized, oh crap, engineering is not going to do it. If people started using philosophy, kind of the roots of where a lot of this comes from, we would have probably, the people from way back when would have been wow, we are way far gone than what they initially thought we were going to be. And that, I mean, you can see the glorification of technology and things like Star Trek, where you see, that's where the idea for the cell phone came. And there's a lot
innovation.
Of different things. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that we see, predictable in sci-fi.
And so it kind of bring back to the video of the guy who was talking about we need less STEM majors, we need more artists.
Right.
He said we need less STEM majors, we need more teachers.
Yep.
We need less STEM majors, we need more influencers, but real influencers, people that are going to inspire. Even a lot of businesses are changing their business models where they're trying to be less, here's my product, I'm gonna push it in front of your face, where they're trying to inspire you with their product. And put you in a way where you become part of the community, right? Because everybody now is privatized. Everybody, we just talked about it, right? Everything now, right? Paying for sitting in this chair now. But you know what I'm saying? But that's what everything now, everybody, there's no, the gatekeepers are gone, right? You know what I'm saying? The music industry is broken.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't make music, you don't make money in music. You never make money. We said Robert Glasper is his name?
Robert Glasper.
Yeah, Robert Glasper. He said that you perform to get another performance. Your performance is you marketing your music. That's it. You perform to get another performance. You're not performing for money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's not what it's about. And I think also, like, when we talk about society, when we talk about building companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Companies are also, or businesses, or infrastructures, or machines, are not just made to be made money for someone else. They're supposed to be made to serve society in a way that makes money in order to sustain. Its overall purpose should be what? Serving society, right? And I think when we talk about the philosophy aspect, that's why we 45th, right? Because we arguing about DEI, right? You know what I'm saying? We arguing about eating sandwiches with sand. You know what I'm saying? Like, why it's good or not, right? You know, we're arguing about dumb stuff, and no wonder why, you know, we were ranked so last, right? And so I guess, like, what do you want people to get from the podcast? And I guess, like, are you comfortable in the because what happens, and you know, you could be like the Book of Eli, you know what I'm saying? Denzel Washington, right? He was just the guy who was like a loner who was protecting the Bible, right? You know, he was blind, you know, so he couldn't even see where he was going, but he knew who he was, knew he was going, right? There are a lot of people like game. They don't want to be a part of the system, right? And they just want to kind of like coast off, right? But then at the same time, we can't do that.
We can't, because if you do that, you're going to find yourself coasting off into an island on fire. And then you got to go back to the other coast. One is fissure, earthquake, tornado, hurricane, and what's the point? What's the point in just being stuck in the island or stuck in the ocean with all the sharks? You might as well just stay here and fight the good fight, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to educate yourself. You have to surround yourself with people to put in the work, who are willing to do the research, and who are really going to apply the principles that either they are learning or that others are learning. Because we can't just do this on our own. Like, I was like, I'm going to be an engineer and change the world. That was the I statement, right?
The teacher and save everybody in Detroit.
Right. And when we don't consider the communal aspects, the societal implications, then we find ourselves confounded, like, oh man, this is going left.
Harder than I thought.
Oh, this is going right, but in the wrong direction. You know? So this is where we need more perspectives, and I do not like using the word diversity because there's a lot of different meanings for that. I mean, I use dignity instead. People use equity, but equity is not necessarily being used in its intended, you know, meaning. Is being co-opted, and it becomes excuses, right? And even in inclusion, I forget the word that replaces that, but man, we
gotta have the resources.
Yeah,
we got really fully.
Yeah, we have, and we can't it can't be performing.
It can't be.
Because it's enough of that propping up the peacock and hey, we're doing this, and then it's not anything that
it's a fraction of what your intentions were, and so that's really it too, man. Like, so because teachers get a lot of bad rep because, you know, you may have someone who has power or may not be as authentic, have more power than you, and you know, like, I could move a room, I could move my kids from left to right, and you come to me with, you know what I'm saying, and there's that disconnect, you know. Because, you know, like, you know, if you can do it, you can do it, right? And then I don't feel like I need to play the game because I can do my job. You still have to, you know, do those things too. And so I guess, why was J. Cole given so much flack for kind of like breaking that code? Like, kind of like we were talking about, of not trying to be the knowledge of all, be the sage on the stage, or be the person trying to save everybody. Problem. I'm actually going to just like opt out. I'm just going to just like bow out because my peace is more important. But so many people had a problem with that, right? Because if you were to say, like, I'm actually Rainier Berkeley was probably one of the smartest dudes in my school. He tutored everybody that got a bachelor's degree at Norfolk State. Rainier, and you graduated with a degree in science, he tutored you.
Right.
He did everything. When Rainier graduated with a Fulbright scholarship with the NEMIS program, he took a 3-year hiatus. You would think that he was going to go to like MIT, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He just got his master's like a year ago.
Goodness.
You know what I'm saying? But if you look at Rainier is the coolest.
Yeah.
Just like, you know what I'm saying?
It is what it is.
You give them what's it called? A trigonometric integral. You do that joint in like Jordan. It's like not trying to like glorify like the moist butter.
Yeah.
There's so many people like that who got the talent. They got everything that we want, but they just, you know what I'm saying? They just close to because what society is presenting, what the world is presenting, the pressures, anxiety, it's just not like, it's not appealing. Or I ain't ready for this.
People want to preserve their peace, and that's what I saw your podcast on that, of being humble enough to say, "Hey, I admit that I was wrong in this." And people, headlines, sound bites, the most negative. Mm-hmm. What many people buy into. I mean, the most ratchet or ratchet thing.
Right.
I believe my Facebook and Instagram because it's so messy. Because people gravitate towards it. I think if I can remember the study, it's common. It's human instinct to want, to want that marketing to capture you. And when it comes to people who haven't been catalyzed or activated in that sense, it's likely because it doesn't directly affect something that's personal to them.
Right.
If it does, they're not, they're possibly fearful of what it might mean to be vulnerable. And vulnerable is a strength, right?
Vulnerability is a strength.
Yeah, you if you're willing to, bare your soul, then there's going to be a response, right? There might be a reaction, but the people who really needed to hear that message will receive that message. And so with my dissertation, I did an arts-based dissertation.
Okay.
Which was a critical autoethnography about my experience navigating the University of Michigan as a Black man.
Wow.
I used J. Cole lyrics. His album titles were my different chapters in my dissertation. And every lyric lined up with each paragraph or whatever, each section of my dissertation. That people are like, wow, how did that work so well? It just seems so easily interwoven. And I'm talking about the ups, the downs, more so the downs, because it's U of M, HWY. But
they're just oblivious.
Right.
They have no clue that this is happening.
Exactly.
This is Black PhD program. He thought the motherfucker was just like lollygag, just like happy-go-lucky going through it.
And the funny thing is, I finished my I added a master's in 2019. I started a PhD in 2018, and I graduated with both of them in 2020. Like 3.5 years, and you got jokers that's been there much longer, more stressed out. I was blessed to have the fellowships, the funding to have the agency and autonomy to do what I wanted to do authentically. So a lot of people aren't necessarily in that position. I wish that wasn't the case for everybody. But because I had the freedom to explore my interests, I was able to really just tap in. My master's thesis was funded through the National Science Foundation.
Yeah.
But it was about how